Morning, everybody. Today is April 10th, 2025. We're here for a work session agenda. If we could all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilwoman WASKI, would you mind leading us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor.
Okay, we're here for open session of our work session today. And before we get started, I would like to ask Councilor Howard and Dawn Thomas maybe to come up and give us a brief overview of the first two items we're going to talk about and a quick rundown of how we got to where we are at this point today.
That's a long story.
I know it is. And I'm going to apologize if you see me dabbing my face. My razor was hungry this morning and took a chunk out of me, so. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. So just quick overview. We're talking about the reuse of the Vail Leavitt Music Hall this morning. The Vail Leavitt was built in the mid-1800s and is a mini replica of the Ford Theater, which is where Lincoln was shot, and has been the home to many different things over the years. But the ultimate goal was to have a cultural resource performing arts center in the downtown. And so in the 1980s, the families that owned it privately deeded it over to the town of Riverhead, who thereafter deeded it to a group called the Council for the Vail Leavitt Music Hall. And for the next 40 years, it attempted to succeed, but failed miserably until, 2023, the town moved to recover the property pursuant to a reverter in the deed. And so the objective since that time has been be able to attract a cultural resource to that, recreate a performing arts center out of it as the families originally intended. The town never received any funding for that. It was we were just a pass-through at that time. And, but the town has been carrying that property since we've recovered it with the great work of the town attorney's office. So we've spent the last 16 or so months working with different people to try to, figure out what the best next steps are to make sure that the theater succeeds and as a performing arts center as we had hoped all these years, and to make it really dovetail nicely with what's going on downtown, including the Suffolk Theater and the future amphitheater that the town will be creating as a part of the downtown revitalization plans we've been working on for the past 7 years. So important to remember that East Main Street from Peconic Avenue to East Avenue is part of the East Main Street urban renewal area. That was a designation that fortunately a smart person, Andrea Lonais, created back in the day to allow the town to engage in urban renewal, an urban renewal process that's set out in New York State General Municipal Law, which creates the opportunity for the town to not sell property to the highest bidder, but rather to work as a partner with different entities. So similar, we have 3 urban renewal areas in the town. EPCAL is one, East Main Street is one, Railroad Street is also one. And that gives you flexibility to be partners with entities to create those things that you want to create in terms of economic benefit. And so an urban renewal project has a process that people are familiar with. They often refer to the Q&E, qualified and eligible sponsor process, and that's an arduous process that individuals have to go through to prove that they are qualified and eligible sponsors of an urban renewal project. So the town's criteria includes things like, what is your business plan? What is your history in doing similar projects? What is your experience in doing these things? What are your connections and partnerships? How do you work with other entities across the state, New York State, Suffolk County, and other entities like that? And so when we're talking to some individuals this morning about potential proposals to reactivate the Vail. The Vail, over the 40 years that it was held by the Council for the Vail Leavitt Music Hall, was not maintained There's a tremendous amount of repair that needs to be done. The property is on the National Register of Historic Places, which further complicates the renovations to the property and requires a lot of other approvals and input. It can't just be done. And so we hope that these individuals will give us a little bit of their background and tell us how they would be qualified and eligible so that the board can decide how it wants to move forward. Again, you know, because it's the Q&E process, you don't need to do an RFP, it's not competitive bidding, it's not the highest bidder, none of those things apply. It's who's the best partner for the town board in creating the economic environment that you want to see in the downtown. And so that's what we're here to discuss this morning. I don't know if you want to.
I think you pretty much covered it.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what we've
Any
been
other
doing
questions?
for the last 30 years in downtown. We're so close to that tipping point. And we look forward to hearing what people have to say. So I'll leave it to you guys.
I guess just to clarify, because one of the questions the supervisor and I were talking about yesterday was because, I guess presumably because it's an urban renewal project, that's why we don't necessarily have to put it out to like an RFP or just put
Correct.
out to bids.
That's-
Because we want to make sure that it's not turned into a storage place, that it's
Yes, yes, and
used
when,
as a theater and used to drive people downtown.
and when it was gifted by the families to the board to make it a performing arts center, that was the goal. And so the only way we were able to retrieve the property is because they weren't engaged in making it a performing arts venue. And so that was the little hook you had to get it back. And so, you know, moving in that direction, now you have some more proposals and some ideas. So we can go from there.
So with that, I know I did a little research on the Suffolk Theater, which is also in the urban renewal area, and that did go out for an RFP, but, you know, I know that did, but the town has the ability to control that RFP, you know, given like those kind of points, and
Yeah.
everything you said would be inside an RFP.
And I know that one of the things that we've talked about well, I know I've been working on it for over 2 years, but the 16 months that we've been working with some specific individuals, you know, the timing of it has been important to the board, getting it moving. And when we did the RFP for the TOD, just creating the RFP alone takes over several months. And then vetting the respondents to the RFP. So you're looking at a 1-year process at a minimum to do an RFP. And I think the property is in dire straits and needs to kind of be
Yep.
addressed quickly. And we've known this for a while. And in fact, you know, before we were involved in working together to get
2.5 years ago.
yeah, but
Yeah.
even before that, my office went to New York State League of Preservation, and we got, because they were not able to even get out of their own way, a well-intended community group who had local roots and musical background, but just not you know, it takes a certain ability to run a theater business, and they wanted to do it, they just couldn't, as you know, we couldn't get them to do it, they wouldn't even apply for the grant that we got them. We did get them the building condition survey, which was a very important springboard to get to other funding, because we could show what the cost was going to be. That was something that our office worked on and got for them. But again, you know, it's been a very long, hard road we've been traveling to get this property reactivated, so we're excited about hearing what's proposed.
So setting the stage for today, through discussions and communications meetings with the town board and town board members and town staff, we've identified 2 potential options for the Vail. And so today's discussion is simply to review what their plans are, how they envision activating the building. This isn't a qualified knowledgeable hearing. In the event the board is comfortable with either of the presentations today and wants to move forward, that will be subject to a future qualified knowledge.
Great.
Correct. Okay. We'll start out, first we're going to start out with Tom Manuel. And Tom is from the Jazz Loft in Setauket? Stony Brook.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Very well, thank you for having me again. Pleasure to be here. Pardon me for using my notes. So just as a recap, I know we've been meeting for the last 16 months and had several discussions, but for those that are unaware of who I am or who the Jazz Loft is, just a little overview. My name's Tom Manuel. I'm the founder and the executive director of the Jazz Loft in Stony Brook. I'm also the endowed artist in residence at Stony Brook University. What I'm going to present is a little bit of a summary of the full presentation document that gave much more detailed information. This has been made available to the Riverhead Town Board, and I'd encourage everyone to revisit that document should they have any questions, and my presentation this morning will just be a much shorter summary of that more detailed presentation, which has a lot of supporting media clips and quotes from local and state supporters, as well as extensive data regarding the tourism and economic figures. So as a little background, the Jazz Loft is a 501c3 not-for-profit. We will be open for 9 years this coming May. We assumed stewardship of a historic property in 2014 that's on the Brookhaven Town Register for Historic Sites. We underwent a capital campaign to restore the building, and then we oversaw a $500,000 renovation, which we completed in 1 year to the day from which we got our building permits. Our mission at the Jazz Loft is to advocate for the American-born art form called jazz, and we have a trifold mission, which is performance, education, and preservation. If you come to the Jazz Loft, you'll see we present over 200 performances annually. We present a variety of styles of jazz music, and we employ performing artists in the amount of roughly $500,000 annually. We have several major festivals that attract patrons from throughout Long Island and throughout New York and even beyond. We have an annual Swing into Spring Festival, which has a focus on in the month of March, when we're not quite out of winter and not quite into spring, to get people downtown, to get people into restaurants and into our community. We also have a Monteleone Art of the Guitar Festival, which has a focus on guitar enthusiasts, and we bring in guitarists literally from all over the world to perform at that. And then one of our biggest festivals is our Harbor Jazz Festival, which we do on our village green overlooking the Stony Brook Harbor, which is a beautiful, beautiful backdrop, and that's a free festival all day long for all of our community members and really draws people from all over Long Island. Our museum has 30 archival collections from some of the most important figures in American popular music, like Ella Fitzgerald and Charlie Parker and Tony Bennett and Louis Jordan and many others. And we also have a very important art and photography collection. So if you come to our museum, what you'll see is rotating exhibits of all of those things. And like I said, including art and including photography. Our education programming, which is the third point of our mission, has a strong collaboration with Stony Brook University, specifically the music department and the jazz department there. And we have a Loft School of Jazz program for middle school and high school students, which brings the students into our space. We also host field trips, we host workshops, clinics, we have a variety of adult programming events, and we often host a wide range of professional development days for arts educators that come from Nassau and Suffolk County. Lastly, I'd like to mention we have a jazz dispatch series, and that focuses on our community collaborations. We currently have active relationships that bring what we do inside our walls to restaurants, to music festivals, libraries, performing arts centers, community spaces throughout Long Island, including Huntington, Cold Spring Harbor, Bridgehampton. A lot happens within our Three Village community. And most recently, I'm happy to share that we have a new concert series that's going to start this month, April 24th, and run through the end of August in Southampton at the Avram Theater on Stony Brook University's Southampton campus. So to get to what our mission would be at the Vail Leavitt, the mission of the Jazz Loft at the Vail Leavitt would be to renovate first and foremost and reactivate a historically important venue, which is and should be the crown jewel of your Main Street community. A major focus would be on presenting art programming and music of ranging styles and performance. And additionally, as part of this mission, the venue would also serve as an incubator for educational, and events and collaborations with area arts organizations and businesses, and would serve as a home to other events and activities which would promote and serve the community at large. The vision is really to create a hub of activity to serve the community and to embody your town's slogan, which is work, stay, play, eat, and live. As I shared in much more detail in previous meetings, there's a lot of data from local, state, and national projects that have shown and have proven that arts strengthen the economy, arts and culture are tourism drivers, arts unify communities, and arts spark creativity and innovation. As I say to my students, I think I've spoken a lot, so maybe you might want to just see this video clip of what we do. This is a good example of one of our projects that's been developed over several years, and is a Sinatra show that we do, and it's actually, as a plug, it's coming up at the end of this month, so if any of you would like to come and see it, you can see it live.
I have seen it. It's a wonderful show
Thank
in
you.
the past.
The Jazz Loft presents Strictly Sinatra. Celebrate the genius of the chairman of the board, Frank Sinatra, as the Jazz Loft's 17-piece big band presents the original arrangements of Nelson Riddle, Billy May, Johnny Mandel, and more. Vocalist Pete Caldera will take you on a journey through Frank's most beloved hits, including Fly Me to the Moon, I've Got You Under My Skin, My Way, Pennies from Heaven, New York, New York, and many more. Experience the high-energy excitement that has sold-out audiences on their feet as Pete Caldera delivers with class, style, and his own thrilling renditions of timeless classics. The best songs, the greatest arrangements, the top musicians New York has to offer, the spotlight voice that will steal the show. This is a man and his music. This is Strictly Sinatra.
So I think what I would just say on that note, you know, the plan for a restored and revitalized Vail Leavitt Theater would benefit your community not only culturally, but financially as well. You know, that show brings literally hundreds of people, sold out shows. We keep adding shows every year and they just keep getting sold out. What the data has shown is that those people that come, those are the people that are going to go out to eat and have dinner before any restaurants or after. Those are the people that are going to come and make a weekend out of it and stay in your hotels. Programming that is of a high quality, that is consistent, that is reliable, is a benefit to communities. And that's why you've seen so many of what were our old original theaters or movie theaters are now all not-for-profit organizations that are performing arts centers. And to my knowledge, all of them are incredibly successful in every town. If you go to West Hampton, if you go to Sag Harbor, if you go to Stony Brook, if you go to Northport, you name it, the list goes on and on. So it's not something new that we're presenting here. It is a tried and true model, which I think is important to note. Last but not least, I'd like to emphasize that the purpose and agenda of a successful theater in a community has always been and continues to be, in my opinion, a place for collaboration within a community. We've seen over the last 25 years all of these theaters, like I mentioned, turn into these wonderful performing arts venues, and all of them have been successful because they've embraced the identity of their community. So I just wanted to mention some of the partners that we bring to the table, and some of the people that I think would definitely be key collaborators would be, of course, your Main Street businesses. We have a very strong relationship with Discover Long Island, with the Gardner Foundation, with the East End Arts Council, Rites of Spring Music Festival, the East End Tourism Alliance, East End Jazz, which is a new organization as of recently, of course, a very strong connection with Stony Brook University, and I think it's definitely worth mentioning all of the effort and investments they've been putting in, literally from Manhattan to Montauk, with a strong focus on Riverhead and the Southampton area. And then there's, of course, other organizations and supporters that we would want to get to know and forge some relationships with. The big question always is the timeline. Having overseen a $500,000 renovation of a historic building, and it should be noted, and I know Don Thomas mentioned it, restoring a National Historical Register building is not a small task. Restoring any building that, you know, the oldest part of our building was 1770. The oldest part of your building is 1881. The whole building, for the most part, is that age. You are always going to have surprises when you do any sort of restoration project. And if any of you have ever redone your bathroom or kitchen, you know what I mean. There's always things that go quicker. There's always, you open up a wall and you find some surprises. So I preface what I'm about to say by sharing that. But we really believe that a successful proposed schedule, based on our experience, would be that if we were to proceed within the next 30 to 60 days, there would be a due diligence period where we would just ensure that everything is in place regarding the building. We would then propose that that following month, if not sooner, there would be a confirmation and a transfer of whatever grant funding is available for the restoration of the building. We at the Jazz Loft believe very firmly in being completely transparent with what we do, and we would definitely welcome dialogue and conversations with your local press and your local community organizations like Rotary and Chamber of Commerce. We definitely think there should be some open press conferences and meetings that should happen early on in that period. We would think that some soft opening community press events in the early summer, late May, early June would be appropriate. Of course, we would need to secure contracts for renovations, town work permits. We would estimate that to begin and start in the beginning of the summer. And like I mentioned, we've been at this for 16 months now, and we've had lots of conversations with people that would fit all of these roles. We would expect renovation to commence no later than July 1st, and we would expect the renovation to end around November 1st. Of course, we would always shoot for that happening earlier. Like I mentioned, I was quite fortunate. We had our grand opening 1 year to the day that we got our building permits. It's possible, but it should definitely be put forth that you do need to be prepared for hurdles.
I understand this is not a qualified and eligible hearing, but just in terms of finances, how does the Jazz Loft, like in terms of what are your finances to invest into this building to get this restoration done? How do you sit financially?
We are incredibly financially sound. We have just over a $1 million budget. Like I mentioned, we employ almost $500,000 to artists annually. We are a young organization. I will mention that. This May, we will be open 9 years. We don't have large amounts of reserves, but as a not-for-profit, our financials are available to anybody, and we could certainly supply our budget and any documentation you would like to see that supports that.
So Tom, that $1 million is including the Jazz Loft, it's not set aside for the Vail?
Correct.
So that's what I'm kind of looking for, is determined towards what you intend to invest or have finances on hand. Are you solely relying on grants, or do you have money that you are ready to invest into this theater to put into immediate work? Or whether, you know, if grants are not achieved or not given or not transferable, how do you intend to move forward?
Right. As we said in some previous conversations, our collaboration with the town to do this would be reliant upon that grant funding from the state for the renovations, which was put forth in that very well-detailed proposal by Joel Snodgrass. The funding that we would be putting forth would be to purchase the building. That would be our investment.
And because you've done this in the past, you have received many, many grants. Is that correct?
We have, yeah. We try and diversify because of the often unreliable nature of grant funding, as we're very aware of in recent times. So our grant funding specifically does a lot come from NISCA, from the state, from local municipalities, but also foundations, and we've invested very strongly over the last decade in building a strong philanthropic support system.
Now, something that's come up, just so the public is aware, you've already had architects come in and examine the building, is that right?
a collaboration of what work you have done, what work has been done by Joel Snodgrass, and yes, for the last 16 months, we've been in and out of the building quite a lot.
And also you said historic preservation is something that you've been able to do with the other building from the 1700s, is that right?
Right, and that's why I mentioned with such caution the timeline, because when you're talking about a building, think about how fortunate your town is that this building has been, for the most part, preserved like a time capsule since 1881. There's very specific skill sets that come into place, just even to fix a plaster wall. You know, it's not throwing some sheetrock up there. There's a lot of due diligence and caution that needs to be done and care to do it right, and should be done, and should not be rushed. Now, with that said, we live in a historic community here on Long Island. I mean, even the fact that the Gardner Foundation is right in your town here, historic preservation is not something that Long Island is new to. So there are very talented and skilled people here and wonderful trade unions that know how to do that. But it's important to have a plan. If you don't have a plan, you're going to have some problems.
And also going back to some other points you were talking about, you do have a board of directors, is that right?
We do. We have a wonderful working board. My board was established as a working board rather than a board of people that just write checks, because we recognize that running a performing arts venue is incredibly challenging. You need a skill set and very specific people that have experience in finance, in legal, in the arts, in not-for-profit. You see the ones that struggle, and you see the ones that are rather dormant and don't do much. And I believe that that was and is and continues to be our greatest strength, is rather than me coming in and saying, oh, I have a great idea and I want to do this, I was able to recognize this is actually really hard. And if this is going to be successful, you need the right people that are willing to commit the time and the skills and the energy to collectively make it happen.
You mentioned also about working with the community. Would you open up the Vail Levitt to community events, not just performances by the Jazz Loft?
Absolutely. I mean, I think, again, and I mentioned it, and if it was in passing, my apologies, but when you think of what is a theater, like why did in 1881, why was a theater built on your main street? Why was a theater built on every main street throughout our country and throughout the world? They're places for the community. They're places for the voices of the arts and other events to be heard. You know, the Jazz Loft, I didn't want to go on and on about the Jazz Loft, but the beautiful part about our building, people say, well, what year was it built? And I have to say 3 years, because the main part of our building was the first Stony Brook firehouse that was built in 1920. The side part dates to 1770. When Ward Melville built Stony Brook Village, he moved it a quarter mile up the road and attached it, repurposed the whole building. That 1770 part, that was a union meeting house. That was a place where multiple community organizations met throughout the years, Chamber of Commerce's. A theater, a performing arts venue, needs to be a stage, literally and figuratively, for your community. Yes, you need a calendar that's well thought out. Yes, your programming needs to be accessible and diversified. But one of the things I pride myself on is all the different community groups and individuals that use the space of the Jazz Loft for different things that support the community. And I believe that that should be the case at the Vail. And philosophically, as a musician and as an educator, I feel like that should be the philosophy and approach of every theater that exists.
Thank you.
You mentioned the Gardner Foundation. Do you anticipate that they will support this endeavor?
I think if Catherine KERN was here right now, she would say she cannot promise money. And I would say I cannot promise that any organization would give us a grant. What I could say is that they are an amazing foundation that has supported projects just like this. We have applied and received funding from them before. I know that they are quite proud of the project that was done at the Jazz Loft. We would absolutely be applying for a grant in their next grant cycle, and I would imagine that we would be successful and would hope that.
Good.
One of the things I had asked you in the past, and I'll put it here just because we're in the public light, is that the goal when the town square is completed, that we have an outdoor amphitheater, and things that we're looking for is to have, I feel like, to drive people into town to have multiple venues and to use them and collaborate them, to have a country music festival, to have a rock and roll festival and things like that. And originally I'd asked you that, so is that something in which you would collaborate to have different type of, John, does it in the building, would you participate in those type of festivals?
I think in the spirit of collaboration, I would always be willing to have the conversation and collaborate. I do want to be clear, though, to be a jack of all trades and not have a clear focus on what you're presenting does worry me. When a conversation would be started about programming at the Vail Loft, there's a difference between what's programmed on the stage and what you collaborate with. Give you just a few examples. The Jazz Loft has dance companies that come and present things at the Jazz Loft. Now, most people think dance, that doesn't really have anything to jazz. It doesn't. We've had bluegrass concerts. We've had abstract modern jazz. We've had choral groups. But that's not the bulk of our programming. The Jazz Loft's focus is on the American-born art form of jazz that also allows the space to be used for different things periodically. I guess what I just want to be clear on is I would not want to proceed with a venue that didn't have a real clear vision for programming. But I do feel like any music that communicates honestly and genuinely speaks powerfully, which is why we all resonate and speak to music. And I'm always open for collaborations. That's the nature and the spirit of jazz.
You mentioned outdoor concerts. We do have an amphitheater that we will be moving forward with our town square project. Would you be willing to perform at the amphitheater as well? You mentioned doing that at the Harbor
Jazz
Stony
Festival,
Brook.
right.
Would you do that here as well?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things I love about all of our collaborations throughout Long Island is all the different music festivals that we're a part of. And what's really interesting is, and there was a great article in the New York Times about this. For some reason, people always have a little fear about walking through the front doors of a venue. When you present the arts outside, it becomes immediately accessible. There's a way you could be a part of that without the commitment of walking through the door. We've actually found, of all the outreach we do, of all the PR and marketing we do, the thing that brings people through our doors the most is when we perform outside. We actually have one of our summer series, which is sponsored by Stony Brook University, is called our Summer Swap Series, and we do 4 outdoor concerts on the lawn of the Jazz Loft. SWAP stands for Stage with a Purpose, and they're free. And after that's done, of all the things when we ask people, oh, how did you hear of the Jazz Loft? They would say, oh, we came to the festival, we came to the outdoor summer swap.
That's how I became a fan.
Yeah.
I came to the free concert out on the lawn. You've been recognized by the New York Times, Newsday, for your performances. That particular performance that I went to, you had an artist that performed on Broadway. I apologize, I don't recall the woman's name, but she was amazing. Would you bring those types of artists here to Riverhead?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the one thing that the Jazz Loft could bring to the Vail is, we've had literally thousands of performers that have performed, Grammy-winning artists, jazz legends, variety of recording artists, Broadway, the list goes on and on. The one thing that is really wonderful about being where we are in Riverhead, or really anywhere on Long Island, is our proximity to New York. Think of what a challenge this would be if you were in a state in the middle of our country somewhere. Not that there aren't great music scenes and talents, but New York is New York.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hotbed.
It is.
That's good.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Tom,
Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate
We
it.
appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of the
You're
morning.
the same.
I just sent you an email. Okay?
Okay, next up, we have Ray Castronova, and he's going to do a presentation on the Vail Leavitt also.
360.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Ray.
Somebody else you want to bring up?
No, well, I said, yeah, I suppose you can.
Okay. You're all set with IT to get it on the screen?
Yes, they gave me.
All right, good.
I'm not an IT guy, I'll do it all
No,
fashioned.
no, this is, no.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So some of you know me, some of you don't know me, but I'll give you a brief history of where I am, what I do. I am a local. I've lived and had business in Riverhead for over 30 years. I do a lot of restorations. So in the town itself, I probably, over the last couple of years, as some of you may know, I own the building on the corner of 2nd Street in Roanoke. I restored that. That's the old Oddfellows building.
The Old Town Hall.
The old town hall, all right. I saw the sign this morning, actually, when I went downstairs. To the left of it is a house that was built in 1912. You probably see it if you ever go to the brewery. It's across the street. I restored that. And what we do is, so me and my son go to the historic museum, and we look into the history and what it looked like, and we make it the same way. So then I bought the house next to it, on the other side of the Oddfellows on Roanoke, and that was in the late 1800s. And we restored that one, everything in there from beginning to end. Then we decided that, this is Riverhead, this is our town. We want to do what we can do, keep the historic ways. Then we bought a building, 434 Griffin Avenue. I know St. David's had it, and they were getting ready to demolish it. Everything was disconnected, the electric, the gas, the sewer, there was nothing left. And they wouldn't give them a demolition permit because it was in the historic district. I bought it, and I brought it back to life again. And it's restored every inch of it inside. So that's what I would propose to do with the Vail. So I'll give you my history on why we're more than capable of doing this. So growing up in the city in Brooklyn, I grew up restoring these old buildings. And when, we have 50? Okay, yeah. We have 50 years of construction knowledge. I restore them, I put them back together again, and that Vail Leavitt, to me, all I had to do was walk around for a little while, and I seen a gem that when you have a history in restoring these things, the first thing you look at is settlement. If a building has settlement, it's like an infection. You don't want to go near it. I advise a lot of clients in the city when I do walkthroughs, there's no settlement here. So whatever you can do cosmetically can be done. So putting that all together, and I know there were grants. Oh, so I own a big construction company. I'm sorry, I didn't let you know my history of what I do as a profession. So I do mid-rise buildings in Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, Long Island. We're going to do our own on Main Street, on McDermott Avenue, and probably we're going through another site plan approval. And we have the ability to push the dollar a lot longer. I do this. I restore a lot of buildings. Say a lot of fire departments up and down Long Island as well. We restore them. We make them bigger. We got to make it so the trucks fit in. So as far as, I know there's a grant for the roof. I know there's a couple other grants. I don't need the grants. Will they help me? Yes. But if we had to go and figure this out ourselves, financially, we can do that. That is something that I'm really passionate about. And I'm passionate about the town. Give me the next one, please. Oh, so this is,
Oh, you didn't,
oh yeah, so the Oddfellows building, see, this is a cemetery I just finished a little over a year ago. This is a brand new chapel. A little over a year ago, and there's 10 mausoleums behind it. And the detail in that is because my history in restoring things. Was I the lowest bidder to get that job? No, I wasn't. Was I the most qualified? Yes, I was, because of my history living in that kind of masonry work. The detail is where the focus is. So as I look at the Vail and I drive around now, I live here, I drive past it quite often, I just look at those front windows to brighten them up, to get them all exposed again, and to move on to bringing that old man alive again. So, what's on the next one, please? Okay, so let's go into the music end of it. So the construction end of it, I expressed our capabilities. Now on the music end of it, so when I was young, I had a record contract to tour the world. I mentioned that. I couldn't do it because young Italians in Brooklyn have pregnant wives. So I decided to go down the family route, but never stopped my music. We go on, so now the kids are all grown up. My daughter runs my construction company. My son's an attorney, he works there as well. So I'm getting back into the music end of it. So about 5 years ago, I decided that on the top of that Vail Leavitt building, there's a ballroom. It has dance floors, disco lights. So we decided to get back into the music industry again. We got welcomed in by everybody, but I decided that I'm going to handle it on my own. And we formed our own record company. So with that in mind, the word spreads. In the Suffolk Theater, the first round, we raised about almost $50,000 for the Leukemia Lymphoma Society. Just this past November, we raised about almost $40,000 by our performances for there's an organization called New Ground. New Ground gets homeless veterans off the street. This is my focus, to help these organizations as well. And then we'll move on to other things. And then come this November, we're having another fundraiser, and it's going to be all donated. I have two organizations I'm vetting out right now, but it's going to be for women that are victims of domestic violence. I got 2 daughters and 2 granddaughters, and I've always taken that real seriously. So as far as now, the construction, so what will I do, and how will I keep this Vail Leavitt going? So I'm very, very savvy in the music industry, and I know a lot of people in the music industry.
Yeah, you had connections, but they're gone.
What's that?
You had a page.
We can go back.
Yeah. Okay, so with this in mind, there's a gentleman, actually, Melissa, can I please get a couple of those support letters? This is Melissa. She's my office manager. Allie works in my office as well. She's in charge of a lot of production. Yeah, so I have these support letters, and I can pass them around to anybody who wants them. But this gentleman here, I have guys on board that'll be my event planners. This gentleman, Mark, he wants to get on board. I have a few people that are coming to me. I have to vet out with the right ones. I own a construction company. Every job has 37 subcontractors, and I have to qualify them, and I have to vet them out and make sure that they are who I want. So with this attraction, I have a few people that are attracted to it, and I have to interview them yet, but I want to see how well this goes, and then I start my interview process. So the gentleman that I understand has all this experience with me, the first one. So you've all heard of Live Nation? Live Nation is the biggest concert producer throughout the country. He owns part of it. He lives out here. During COVID, from Manhattan, he moved out here, and he loves Riverhead. He lives in South Jamesport. He has a passion to be part of this. He has a passion to bring shows here. He has a passion to work with us. He also is a partner in, we have Live Nation, and Ron Delsner. Ron Delsner's a big producer. I don't know if some, we remember Ron Delsner, but the new kids might not remember that, Ron Delsner. He is another big promoter. So what I would do at the Vail Leavitt, can you, and grant writers, in my construction world, I do a lot of affordable housing up and down Long Island. And those people have grant writers that I'm familiar with as well. And they can get entertainment grants. They just know the system. So if I need some help, I'll do it. With the roof grant, I'll need some help, I'll have them do it. So I hire people who are experts to handle all the different tasks to run the theater. So what we would do is, I would have all the different, you can come to the next one?
Which one?
The next, go to where, yeah, okay. So entertainment. So what I propose and what I feel would be best for the town, because listen, you want to hear Frank Sinatra? This is my kind of town. I came here a long time ago, and I'm not leaving. My roots are in here, and my kids' roots. So we'd have performances from all genres, because a single genre, the sustainability, to bring people and what they want, what they feel, is you don't want to limit yourself. So we'd have all genres, we'd have all types of professional musicians. I'm going to try to stay away from the tribute stuff, because that's Gary over at the Suffolk Theater. Gary had also written us a very strong support letter that we will work together. We will not collaborate, we won't go against each other, and he is very into us being involved, and he's going to work with us, and Gary is an expert at what he does, along with Mark. So we'd have all different genres. There'll be acting classes. We'll have all kinds of, there's kids entertainment. So kids entertainment is real important to us as well. Kids come in, their families come in. We want people to come into the streets of Riverhead, and you know what the whole objective is. Bring it here, make it a destination, and not just a pass-through. So a podcast room. I was just going to start building a podcast room in the building over at Roanoke. I stopped because when I saw this opportunity come along, I said, I'll build a podcast room over there. People podcast right now are only tapped into the 15% of population, and it's already a multi-billion-dollar venue. So they could come in that room downstairs. We'd have a lot of community events, event planners. I have all the event planners to do it that'll work under my supervision. So the goal of it all is that on the financial end, I have the horsepower to get this where it is, and then have it operate and be sustainable. What else you have? One more, right? Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's it. If I grant the opportunity, I'm going to make the Vail Leavitt proud and bring it back to life. This place, I'm already thinking about, if it comes in our direction, I'll meet I'll go to the building department, and I'll see what it takes to get this thing running as quick as I can. So I have experience in these restorations that we can keep that building open while I'm restoring it. So I'll take care of the inside, get it ready for start, and whatever it needs shows. Listen, I put roofs on existing buildings. I've taken roofs apart in existing buildings, in fire departments. I work around. So getting the interior safe and having all the life safety in line and having it look beautiful will be my first plan of action. That is going to be less effort than once I start attacking the outside. I have chimneys that need pointing. I mean, I live in there. I look at every crack when I walked around there the last couple of weeks. I see all the facade on the roof, all the wood. I already have guys planned to come out and see and look and get real prices. So with that grant, I'll be able to push that money a long way. So I want to try to get this open sooner than later. I already have a PA system I could put in there. Mark is going to work with me to redo some lighting and help get all the sound systems going. So you have any questions for me?
You,
Go ahead, Mark.
in your previous presentation, you talked about putting an LED screen across the
Yeah,
back.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
And I
but-
think it's important, and also that
Yeah.
you were going to do some theater in there.
Yes.
Okay.
Theater, we'll have dance competitions. It'll be open to the community. You know, all these dance schools around here, they want to have competitions. I'll have music competitions. People love that kind of stuff, to compete with something, and they'll win prizes, and they'll be able to do certain things.
And with the help of Mark, with the Live Nation thing, you shouldn't have any problem working with Suffolk
Mark's
Theater and the amphitheater,
We already have.
you know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we already have.
Yeah. Yeah, and the amphitheater, well, everything that we need in this town, I will be there for. And I'm literally, I think if I walked, it might take me 3 minutes to get to the Vail Leavitt. So just my presence alone makes things operate the way it's supposed to be.
I remember when, way back, when Dawn and I were, working like 2.5 years ago, I had seen you somewhere, I don't know, and you said, oh, I have the engineering, I did all the engineering for that building.
No, I did. So
And that's always in the back of my mind, but you did not, there was a financial problem with the existing board,
Right.
and so, but you have all that.
I do. So there was a design made. I remember Jeffrey Freeman. Yep, I have all that. So I was working with Bob Botter, who was there originally, and there was another gentleman. And I climbed through that building every which way, from the burnt trusses in the roof, to see how it is structurally, and everything's structurally fine. There is some of the burnt stuff that I got to fix up there. Although we have that whole, I was trying to work with them, and I put numbers together for them to enter into each one of these tasks, but they just didn't get it going. I have that whole report, designs, everything else you have to understand.
So you're not looking to rely on grants if they're not there.
Oh, Just like I did. These buildings I put around these houses, I bet you on the cheap end, I put 100 grand into one of them. On the cheap end. I know the one on Griffin, because it was in such disarray, there was no connections, there was nothing. That would probably, about 140,000 I put into that.
So one of the questions I asked the other gentleman was, I'm looking at, so we're gonna break ground hopefully this summer on the town square and eventually have that amphitheater. So I think restoration is one enforcement is important, which I think you've already spoke about and tend to utilize your own funds if necessary, but I'm looking more towards everything else that also is around you, so all, our restaurants, our storefronts and so forth, and making Riverhead a gathering place with the new town square. So I see it through means of different types of festivals and so forth. So, I'll ask that same question. I'm looking for that country fest, that, bring back the blues festival and those other type of things where you're going to have multiple stages working together. So you tend to collaborate with the Suffolk Theater. Clearly, you're obviously based on the letter working with Gary, but if you just talk about that, like, in terms of a driving force.
Yeah, so.
You have to be a starting point for everything else around you as well,
That's correct, yeah. So the Blues Festival, I actually played in a couple of them. I could never figure out why that stopped. Country festivals, country music, having that whole atmosphere. So we have connections with all genres of music and all the festivals. It's just the quality of the music and having the whole atmosphere. So in the country festival, you're going to have it like country. If you have the blues festival, you're going to have it like blues. So yeah, we are open to helping and supporting all that.
You also mentioned about your connection with people from Broadway,
Yeah.
and you were going to bring people out, and I know you had mentioned you can get people pay $200 to $500 a seat to see, because it's a small theater, a small venue, and it lends itself to that.
Yeah, so this leads to, another one who you know. So I have a vocal instructor in Manhattan. His name is Derek Rosenblatt. He's the top shelf vocal instructor, probably in the country, but yet focuses on Broadway. And our connections, and I said to Derek, Derek, if I have this Vail Leavitt, would some of these Broadway singers and some of these Broadway people want to come out and just put on, like you see somebody on Broadway, so they're off on that, but they want to come out and put on a show, and this way we could have the expenses, the ticket prices all go up. He says, I have no problem introducing you to these people, because they will do that. I bring them out, I house them. When you see these type of people starting to come to the Vail Leavitt Music Hall, there's going to be an opportunity for a lot of people to follow. And I have no problem. Anybody wants to see all my financials of my company and see what kind of money we carry in there, I have to do it all the time. That tells the truth. Yeah, I have a handful of experts that we hire, like in my subcontractor world, electric. Do I know about that? No, but I know how things are supposed to go, and I know how progress is supposed to be made. Yeah, but that's what I do. So I hire people who know.
Can I get one of those?
Yeah, sure.
I didn't see.
Ray, what is your particular genre when you go to the Suffolk and you perform?
So I get asked that a lot on radio station interviews, and I got stumped when I got first asked. So took me a minute, and I said, you know what, I'm going to make up my own genre, because I don't have one genre. That's why the variety is one. And they said, so what is it? I said, I'm going to call it Music Stew. And they said, Music Stew? What's Music Stew? I said, because I learned from the old blues legends. I learned then, then Motown kicked in, and you learn that whole soul. Then the British invasion and then rock and roll came in, because they learned from the blues legend and spiced it up. Then the disco world starts coming into play. And now, then you have all these other, contemporary genres. So we play everything. So actually right now, as soon as I leave here, I have to head to New Jersey, because I'm leaving town Saturday for a week. I'm getting a little vacation. So I work with a gentleman who ran the Saturday Night Live band for like 15 years. His name is Chris Palmero. And right now we're creating another genre, and we're having these all for today. These all these dance songs. So I have to, as soon as I go and leave here, I got to pack in the car, and I have to head to New Jersey because I got to put bass lines and all this other. You can feel like you're back in Saturday Night Fever with this music. Right, so remember Saturday Night Fever? So all these different genres are part of what we do. So I said, what genre is actually missing from what we do? We do play jazz. Now we're going into that dance era with disco music. And we can have disco parties over there. You get a disco band, but the tribute bands I'm not so big on. If it's something special and people are requesting a tribute band because they want to have a certain occasion, I'll find it. If not, then I'm going to just try to go with performers that have that history. And Mark is connected to all of them.
I see that. School of Rock has some, I mean, they couldn't, I don't think the kids could fill the Suffolk Theater, but, some of them are incredible.
They are.
Yeah, tribute bands, and they could probably, it'd be cool if they could, perform there. They could maybe fill that theater. That's something you'd look at.
Yeah, so I'm actually communicated with them a few times already in the past to try to see if I could. So I have an occupancy up on that third floor. It's a non-conforming pre-existing use that my 501c runs. That's why my 501c could have the Vail Leavitt. And I'm communicating with them to get at least, maybe 50 kids up there, let them have a little bit of a performance with their teachers and their family and things like that.
Yeah. I know about 2 years ago, I went up there and we jammed. I couldn't believe and the size of the space and how much equipment, which was great. But anyway.
I will say that we saw you at the Suffolk Theater to a sold-out crowd, and honestly, I hadn't heard you prior to that, and we attended. My wife and I didn't know what to expect, but it was like a flashback of memories of hit songs that were just keep coming and coming, and we found ourselves in the end standing up.
Thank you.
Singing
Yeah.
along and everything.
Yeah,
You did a phenomenal job. You put on a great show.
Thank you. And communication is the key. When there's a song, you want to talk to your audience and give them the hit, because we did a lot of original music, give you a history of why that song was written. Everything's a story. This is a story. We're starting at the beginning. When you get this guy going, and that's the beginning of the story, and when you make him come alive. So you tell the story so people can follow along. Yeah.
Saturday Night Fever, was that the Bee Gees music?
It was. I tell you, if you want, I have the cut that I'm going to go work on now. You'll hear you feel like you want to put on your bell bottoms and dance shoes because bell bottoms are coming back now. And the other trick is that what I got from about 4 producers already that latched onto it. They said nobody's doing this yet. So we'll have some fun. I have a videographer already set up for it. I'm communicating with 2 choreographers and a couple of dance schools. It's going to be fun. And it was designed around, it's called a touch. It's a dance that goes with it that we created. And it's designed for professional dancers. It's designed for non-professional dancers. It's designed for the elderly. And it's even designed for people in wheelchairs to do. Because when you look at these kids today, so when we grew up, even in the 20s, people dance together. Now they look like all robots dancing around. So if we get a little thing called a touch, people get a little closer, it's...
Councilman Kern might be able to hit some of them high notes on Saturday Night Fever if you give him a chance.
They did have some high notes.
Just,
Right?
yeah, just step hard on my foot. I'll squeal.
Hey, board, any other questions?
All right. Well, thank you
Great,
for seeing
thank you
me.
very much. We appreciate it.
And you had not how you get a hold of me. You need me for anything. Have any questions? Your attorneys want to see what we have in the quotes. I'll let you know. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you again.
Yeah,
Enjoy.
thanks.
Bye.
Okay, next up, we have matters surrounding a proposed plan for the Long Island Science Center with Hubbard and Kern.
So
Hello
we have-
there. How are you?
So we have Chris Kempner, who worked on the grant, the funding to get the Science Center going, and then we have Jordan, great. We have Jordan, his team, and I'll just, on a note, I've had meetings with Larry Oxman from the Science Center over the last year about, really getting this thing happening. And recently, now that the architectural drawings are done and stuff like that, they are ready to go. So Jordan, I'm going to leave it to you to speak about, and I know you're in touch with the master developer, so make sure we can hear you.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Jordan Rogoff, principal at DXA Studio, New York City. I am also a part-time resident of Mattituck and love the North Fork area, and was actually living out there during the pandemic and trying to get involved with Riverhead. So I know I've had an opportunity to speak with Dawn and some members that are here today. So thank you for the opportunity to come in today to talk to you about this project. I have my team members as well. I have Sando and Shahab that have helped us prepare some materials to share with you today. Kind of a two-phase vision with the intent of trying to get the Science Center up and operational as quickly as possible, hopefully by as early as this summer. But it obviously requires it's a rather complex site, obviously, with so much going on, that'll require quite a bit of collaboration, which we've started in earnest recently. So we're happy to share with you some images that we've prepared that speak to the two-phase proposal that we put before you today.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Just text you.
Oh, it's our pleasure. It's an exciting project for sure.
Well, we're interested in learning what you've put together.
Sure, absolutely. So I don't know the best process. We can pull it up on the screen. I know that we passed along a package last night, but we could just as easily, if we're able to share our screen, we can pull it up and tell you about the project, if that sounds good.
I emailed it.
Yes.
Yes?
Okay.
But we can pull it up.
All right,
Shab, you
yeah,
want to
why
take a
not pull it
shot?
up?
Okay, can you guys see the screen?
Yes.
Excellent. All right, so I think the first image here is just to show the current conditions of the building. I know that that Larry and team have installed a temporary roof to address some water mitigation or water infiltration issues to mitigate those. So the building is in a pretty stable shape right now, and ready for the proposed renovation. So if you go to the next slide, what we're proposing is the building as it currently stands. And I know we can speak a little bit about the water issues and the relative relationship to the base flood elevation and some of the other flood mitigation work that is anticipated with the proposal for the town square. But what we would propose to do right away is, again, to get the Science Center operational as quickly as possible. So what we have here is taking the rough opening of the storefront and essentially just cladding what is a simple CMU building with a rain screen system, which is just simply a panelized system that gets hung onto the rain screen that can really rejuvenate and start to give a public face to the building in this first phase. So it's minimal work on the storefront. It's some restoration. And then obviously some signage to kind of announce the arrival of the Science Center to Main Street, and then this cladding system. The idea would be that the primary function of the building exists at that ground level, knowing that that the flooding issues probably will not be addressed in totality until the town square is complete, So it'd be good to get a sense of the timing of that. We have talked to Barry Long and heard that they're about 95% CDs, which would make, I guess, the ability to pull permits and start that work in the relative near future. But it'd be good to learn more about that. We got a sense of how that town square would kind of interface with the building. And so for phase two, if we go to phase two, we would try to make the primary entry off of the town square as another kind of activating feature, so that the primary method of ingress could happen at the level of the town square, which actually does align with the elevated ground floor. So we've recommended strongly that that all of the public assembly, the PA space, happen at that level, because that aligns with the proposed town square and is coplanar. It is an accessible entry point. And then the floor that exists beneath that, the basement level, because of some of those challenges with the flood levels, we would propose that level be used with some remedial work, drainage and storm water retention, be more of kind of a backup house support level. That houses all the mechanical and maybe some office spaces up a little closer to Main Street in the half that remains less affected. And then for phase two, actually reinforce the roof and let that be a second floor, of which a planetarium that serves the roof of the planetarium that serves the ground floor assembly space, and then also what's hidden behind the trees here is a roof level enclosed by a greenhouse structure with some outdoor space that could serve as a flex exhibition and assembly space. It could be used for events, fundraising efforts. It could be an all-round larger assembly space for the town and for the Science Center. So that second phase, I think, is really tied to the grant acquisition, fundraising, and the goal would be to do that second phase as quickly as possible. But that's, again, very much a work in progress. In order to be able to advance those efforts, really need to make sure that that we could advance with that first phase, bring a public face, get these plans out there, and proceed with getting the funding necessary to realize the second phase. So that's kind of a general overview of the strategy that our firm is proposing to the Science Center. And yeah, we just wanted to kind of start the conversation knowing the interconnectedness of the efforts of the town square and our endeavor here. Did have an opportunity to speak with Joe Petroselli and talk a little bit about that connectivity, how the buildings can support one another in the effort to really activate the town square space. And then obviously, I guess with the change of water collection, I guess historically that had just been kind of shed out to the river. So part of our strategy would be to collect that in a water retention tank inside the building. And this is very much akin to many of the projects our studio has dealt with through the years, most notably probably in the South Street Seaport, and then in Lower Manhattan and in the Meatpacking District. All of those have a very similar relationship to the base flood elevation and exist below that 100-year flood mark. So there's a number of strategies, flood gates, flood barriers removable, We know all of those kind of technologies and can apply those first in a kind of immediate effort to get open, and then a longer term kind of more sustainable strategy. But without going into too much depth now, that is kind of the basic concept here, is that we would anticipate quite a bit of back and forth to understand timing for the town square, connectivity, and where our opportunity is. When we looked at the recent town square plans, there's a great opportunity about midway down the length of this 200-foot building, close to the center, where there'll be a memorial fountain in the beginning of the bosque. That seems like an opportune place to introduce an entry on the side of the building, and then really start to open up the building to the plaza and activate that space. One other little thing to share is that we've been involved in quite a few master planning efforts, and think that we can make a lot of suggestions and kind of add to the team dynamic and goals here to activate the town square. So anyway, that's kind of the gist of what we're proposing here, and we're excited to have this meeting and start these conversations.
Jordan, I have a question. It's my understanding you're currently building a planetarium in Brooklyn?
No, we did a proposal a number of years ago at BAM. That project did not end up happening, but we developed drawings. This was before the digital projection was a thing, and we were talking to the old school, like $1.5 million projectors. But it was an interesting concept in that it was going to exist as an educational facility every day until about 5 p.m. and then turn into a nightclub or fundraising vehicle for BAM. And so unfortunately it didn't happen, but we learned a lot about the process, and can apply some of that expertise to the planetarium here.
Does the planetarium allow it, I think of the right word here, lend itself to immersive art shows?
Oh, absolutely, especially with the new technologies. Now they can be projected like a very sophisticated LED projection. And so pretty much anything that you model in a computer can be projected. It no longer has to be limited to kind of a series of slides or templates that were used in the old time projectors. So it opens up a lot of opportunity for art installations and even just video projection onto the dome surface. So absolutely, yeah. You could, like the BAM project, use this for educational purposes, most of the time, and pivot and use it for other events and art installations for sure.
So just one question. So I'm presumably you're breaking it down from a phase 1 to a phase 2, because I'm based on presumption, maybe based on finances to allow to raise more funding and to continue into phase 2. But why the delay, like on the easterly facade of the building? Wouldn't you want to immediately open up on those doors? I mean, I don't know how much it will really change in terms of the overall cost, but I think that when the town square is open and operating, I think wouldn't it be less disruptive to the town square if you and more drive people into your facility? So if there's people sitting outside a restaurant, sitting on tables, they'd be really looking into the science center, saying, "I want to go in there. I want to go check that out." So, is there any particular reason why you're holding off on the easterly facade?
That's an excellent point. The thought there is that the construction sounds like it'll be about a year or so. So what would typically happen is if we did have that fenestration, the contractor, the team that's building, would then be obligated to cover all of those windows with masonite and protect them over the course of construction. And so rather than do that, I think the goal would be to just have that wall ready to go so that we can install those windows and sync that up with the completion, like work hand in hand with the installation of the town square. The goal would not be that we that we do work after the town square opens on that we do that together and pace that, because there's going to be issues of waterproofing that we'll need to essentially do flashing details over curb details that happen in conjunction. But to do that in advance and then obligate that team to cover that all up is I think would be a second choice. The first choice would be to do that in concert with the completion of the town square. So in actuality, it could be almost a phase one to get open, because the other consideration is that most of the windows and doors are rather long lead items, especially since the pandemic. We've been averaging anywhere 4 to 6 months for orders on custom windows. And so it would take some time, but that can be done again to align that when the town square is complete, that portion of the eastern wall is complete as well. So imagine a phase 1A and a phase 1B and then the phase 2. And you're absolutely right about that phase 2. I think there's a number of grants and opportunities for fundraising that need to be developed to capitalize that part of the project.
Hey, just trying to think in terms of finances towards building that facade and then cutting it all apart, dismantling it, you know what I mean? Like almost if it was, built in phase one, but just it's a consideration. But it sounds like you're telling me that you feel you might be ahead of the town square project, in other words. Is that what you're thinking?
Again, the mission, the brief that we received, our firm received, is that help us get open as quickly as possible. So I think, in order to do that, to simplify the response in the first phase and not engage with these long lead items. To your point, though, I think we would anticipate the presence of the fenestration and the doors when we do the panel install, so that the system is ready to simply just be removed at those areas, and that the waterproofing's ready, and that the install itself can be done really very quickly and without any sort of interruption of the completion of the town square.
What guarantee do we have that you will actually go into phase 2 and that we're not going to get stuck looking at,
Right.
Just a concrete wall, basically?
I agree, that's a great question. You don't have phase 2 yet, right? That requires a lot of funding?
That the phase 2 requires funding. I can't speak to the financial structure of the deal. Just what I can speak to is that we'll design all of this and it'll be ready to go. If it's a matter of having that fenestration kind of guaranteed as part of phase 1, then that's a conversation to be had with the team. But it's as far as guarantees, I'll have to talk to the client and have that conversation.
I would like that conversation to happen.
I would too.
I can speak
In the
to that.
handout
Yeah,
here,
Chris
right.
has got it.
So
In the handout here, it seems to address that. Maybe, Chris, you can go into that a little bit more.
Yeah, so thank you for having us in, and thank you, Jordan, that was really excellent. We have quite a few grants in place to move forward, and for phase 1, we would look to try to get open for the summer, and we have those grants, about 1.8 million, and then that's for getting a C of O and getting open downtown to be a regional attraction.
Right, you
And
said
then-
by August 1st, you have, that's
Hopefully,
the
yeah,
grand opening.
because it's a pretty simple renovation, and then the exhibits are ready to go. We have some great exhibits at Tanger. It's just very small, so we could expand and also host more classroom space. So immediately we could activate the building with phase 1, and then phase 2 we have about 1.8 million for doing the planetarium and the rooftop, and we are ready to do additional fundraising. We just didn't have a location. You know, we have so much grant in place that we wanted to close out the first 2, getting open this summer, and then start with a capital campaign. But we have other financing opportunities that we've gotten in the past. There was a letter of commitment for the $15 million build out, but the requirement of that commitment was that we had to have a C of O in 2 years. So with the timing of the town square development, we were a little bit ahead of schedule. This would be great because, I mean, Jordan and his team are so talented and sort of aware of water table issues that they could develop the rest of the project in coordination with the development of the town square.
So you're talking roughly $15 million for the entire build-out?
That was the other building. This one, I think Jordan did a rough estimate. It was about $1 million to get open for the summer,
Right.
with like a vanilla box kind of
But
space.
for the final project, for phase 1 and phase 2 to be completed?
I don't think it would be the full 15 because that one had a lot of setbacks. We'd have to scope out the cost. It would be probably
Yeah.
a lot lower.
Yeah, Chris, I can speak to that, that we could probably get those numbers. It's so early in the design phase, we've been involved just for a few weeks, that we'll put that together, but I concur. I don't think that $15 million, like we should be well below that. But yeah, give us a little bit more time and we'll be able to get those numbers for you.
So Jordan, if I could just ask, when you're building phase 1, from an engineering perspective, are you building the structural unit to hold the rooftop and the planetarium in phase 1 so that does the science center remain open because it has a completed base for phase 2 for the second story? Or is this something that you're simply, it's a facade on the front of it opens up, and then when you go into phase 2, are you shutting the whole science center down for a period of time while you go into phase 2? Like, so are you putting the engineering and the structure in place at the conclusion of phase 1 so that the science center can remain open?
That's the goal. The goal would be that we do the structural remediation and be prepared to really think of that roof as a kind of blank slate that we can start the construction on there. That would be important to be not disruptive to the town square should the phase 2 happen after that opens. Our goal is to make it go as fast as possible. But if we have that roof ready to go and we can keep occupancy continuous and then build above there, I would anticipate just out of necessity, especially the planetarium area, that we would close off a localized area to be able to construct that and keep the rest of the museum open, and then be able to build that phase 2 off of that kind of table of the roof slab. So that is the goal. If for any reason that can't happen, then I imagine the science center would stay open and we'd do a bay by bay approach. But the goal would be to try to get everything future proof and ready to go.
So when you're filing, when you're filing your building permits, are they going to show, the entire structures, phase 1, phase 2, in its entirety initially, so that I think kind of the proof on hand is that if you're seeing the support structures and so forth put in place in phase 1, and you can, the engineering and our building department can analyze it and say, okay, if the whole structure network is put in place in phase 1, it's kind of like proof that you're going to phase 2, as opposed to just, again, putting a facade on it and beginning to open up, but I just, you know what I'm saying? So like, do you plan on
Absolutely,
submitting the
100%,
entire plan?
yeah.
Plan as a set of documents, you know, for
Yeah,
a building
my
permit?
my goal would be to draw it out complete and then kind of reverse engineer what we're able to accomplish as quickly as possible, and then work with the building department to phase it appropriately. But you're absolutely right. If you get it, even with phase two, we're going to have to do all of the occupancy calculations and make sure the egress is ready to go, and have that all drawn out, and then reverse engineer what is achievable in the time frame and in that bandwidth of the amounts that Chris just shared. So yeah, in my experience is it's a little bit of a negotiation with the building department as well, to make sure what the proper way of doing it is. Is there a TCO given for like a temporary occupancy arrangement in phase one that then becomes permanent in phase two, or is it done, filing all of phase two and then building phase one, getting the C of O for that, and then coming back for phase two. That's a conversation. Those are more conversations that have to happen as to the right way. But our studio would design the entirety of it, have all the calculations, detailing everything ready to go, and then work towards that August deadline.
My
building was
concern
also
here-
built for a third floor when it was originally built, and it has steel beams, so the family that built it with the anticipation of a
You
third
understand
floor.
my point of that, like, if you're doing phase one, put the entire structural unit in place so that you have the possibility of remaining open and operating, and so that it's not inhibiting on the town square, that we open up new town square and that it's boarded up for years while it's construction, that, you continue operating while you're doing your second phase.
Absolutely.
It-
Sorry.
My concern
The other
financially is simply this. Phase one, you're talking to have about 1.8 million available to do what you need to do, and according to what you say here, the estimated cost to get open for the summer is about $800,000. However, go to phase two, and you got about $1.6 million for that. Now, if we're talking, give or take $15 million for the entire project, where is the rest of this money coming from? That worries
So-
me for phase two, because you're talking about capital fundraising, but you're minus a lot of money to get to that $15 million number.
Yeah, so that's a good question. And the way it's phased is that once it opens, these are reimbursement grants, so the money will come in and it'll be the cash for us to work with going forward. And then KELLER, when she was executive director, put together a very extensive business plan on the expanded space. So she did a lot of work about the size that's required to become a regional attraction and having multiple classrooms at the same time. So that key number was 10,000 square feet. So that's what we would get with phase one. And then we would be able to have expanded revenue streams. And that's what the loan was based on. So we wouldn't need the full $15 million going forward, and depending on additional grants once we close these out, because we're a little bit maxed out with additional funding in terms of going back to funders and asking for more money when we don't have a permit. So once we get the
Phase one
plan in
completed.
place, we would close out the first two. We have the second two in place, and then there's other opportunities, both with grants and then capital campaigns. So people are interested in becoming involved with the capital campaign, join the board, and have been involved with some big campaigns down in Florida for regional science museums and some of the South Fork projects. So there's interest in getting involved. We just didn't feel comfortable with that until we had a plan. And I think having Jordan come on, there's a plan, and this is a lot has to do with Lucy Barnes really pulled a lot of this together, and her relationship with Jordan pulled it together. So she joined the board and was instrumental in sort of coming up with the phase plan.
So,
I've had this conversation with Larry Oxman when he first talked about buying this building. And in fact, the location of it being right on the town square, there's no better place for the Science Center, in my opinion. And I felt that way all along. But I think we are very concerned about the finances of the Science Center having the money to actually finish this out, especially in phase 2. And that's concerning for us. And that's why we're having this meeting today and why we're in the situation that we're in. So I need some assurances that money's gonna be there for phase 2, other than you just saying, well, we have people who are interested, but we gotta show them a little something first. That's not how we're doing the town square. We have to have that money. We know we have the money. And we wouldn't embark on doing the town square saying we were missing 60% of the money to do the project and just worry about it later. So that's concerning for me.
I think once we have an estimate from Jordan on the phase 2, with the cash flow of moving into a certificate of occupancy and closing out the first 2 grants, we can move forward with phase 2. I don't think it's going to be the 15 million involved phase 1, closing on the building, and then it was a much more complicated structure up top. So I would think it would be half
The
that
15
price.
million included the purchase price of the building too?
Well, it was refinancing, so everything was rolled into one big construction project. This we would, and then closing out all the grants sort of at the same time and getting one CO. This is a much more reasonable phasing, and then it sort of dovetails with the development of the town square. So this, the letter of commitment, I think Dawn saw it, and the business plan that supported it, that goes back a few years, but those funding streams are still available. I know there's a lot of talk about, federal this, federal funding. This and the project itself, I don't see being in any situation where they couldn't get funding. I think the way the federal government is turning interest to innovation and legacy, we'd like to do a Long Island innovation exhibit and something about the Brumman legacy. Those are all, key objectives that the current administration wants to support, and the federal funding should be there. We haven't really even tapped into federal funding for the capital construction. We've had federal grants for the programming, but there's definitely, once we have a plan with the town and the permits and the phasing with the town square, I don't see any problem getting additional grants, and then the capital campaign is just so that people know it's going to be built. We wouldn't want to take any money in without having a set plan that it's actually going to open.
So I have a question. Go.
I'm done.
Okay, so I feel very comfortable. I'm familiar a little bit enough with construction and know that if to address Councilman Rothwell's concern, you're going to put everything in place for phase 2, and what so that you can build that, it's not going to be an interruption to what's finished on the town square, which I think is really good. Where I'm a little bit confused, and but so when you, let's say you get the permits, you start for phase 1, which I'm very comfortable with. I feel very comfortable with phase 1, and you take the time you need to get the funding for phase 2, because that's the objective, is to get this building complete, right? Can you start going for grants right away?
I think once we have the permits and the commitment from the town, we would definitely,
Okay,
if we can get open by the summer and close out the first 2, we could go back for the same funding, pots of money, but there's also federal funding.
No, that I understood. I
that we
just,
would-
okay.
You
Yeah,
talk
so-
about being open for summer, you're gonna
Yeah.
look like this by summer?
Well,
That's
that
what
would
I
be,
said.
That seems
Photo 3 is,
awful,
photo 3 is what we get by the
it's
summer,
really,
right?
Really
if
just
you
a
look at,
facade.
like the Suffolk Theater and the Woolworth Building and D. Muma's Building,
Yeah, that's.
those really look terrible. I mean, the Suffolk Theater looked like a knockdown, and the way it's been restored is brilliant. So it adds context to your Main Street, facade and
but it wasn't
architectural
done in
features.
3 months.
Well,
Right.
this is really like a skinning in it's like a vanilla box. So if we could get the demolition permit, we're just taking out, it's a steel beam brick construction building. So it's very straightforward construction. And then the inside will be like just mechanicals and the flex space. So the exhibits can move around, and there's some, ideas for movable walls for classroom space. But it's not, I mean, Jordan, you're probably more experienced to
Yeah.
speak on it, but
The elevations are
Well-
gonna change too, so you don't want to, and so you're gonna do this, the elevations are gonna change, and then Jordan, correct me if I'm wrong, you're just gonna punch out where you need to put windows in once that's all done. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Shahab, can you go back to the rendering that we're talking about, the phase one for the summertime? So the first thing I'll say is one of the fundamental differences of this and the previous approval was a complete demolition, new foundation. That is a bigger undertaking than what we're proposing here. To facilitate the expediency of opening quickly, we're going to just do remedial work on the existing structure. There will be additional footings to be able to support the loads of an occupiable roof for phase two. And again, we'd like to try to get that in as quickly as possible and file for that. So again, we've got that table of the second floor in strengthening the roof. But for everything that happens on the outside, this is a pretty much a dumb box. So we do a vapor barrier application on CMU, and then we hang this panelized system on top of that. So you're adding just a couple of inches of cladding. We remove what's a cornice piece on the front, and then we'll do brake metal and some remedial work to the storefront, and then obviously add the signage. I think the accessibility is already addressed with the presence of a ramp that's built in on the right side of the storefront there, and then stairs up to the ground floor level. And again, what's beautiful, intentional or not, we weren't involved as long as everyone else, but that floor aligns with what is the elevation of the town square, which will be elevated between 16 and 18 inches because of the flood mitigation strategy. So all of that, like if we had to come in, build a new building, put a new floor slab and do all of that work, we are so fortunate that aligns. And so it's really not a heavy lift to take the building as it is, repurpose it, and then deal with the flood issues with flood barriers in phase one, and then a more comprehensive strategy for phase two. So yeah, it's not a big lift. The other thing I want to say about phase two, I know that there were the financial concerns, but there were also concerns about the timing it would take to erect. If you go to that slide, Shahab, the phase two, one of the kind of beauties of the proposal is that phase two can be a unitized system, meaning that the greenhouse structure can actually be fabricated off-site and erected on-site, cutting down construction time like pretty dramatically. So we've done a lot of off-site construction and prefab elements on a lot of projects, and so that would, if it does happen after the town square is open, it's not going to be like another year worth of construction. It would be a matter of a few months. So I think that's a positive thing regarding the timing and disruption to the town square. Just wanted to point that out.
I just had to thank you, Jordan. I just had a couple
Yeah.
of questions. I really am happy that you're involved, and Chris.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it's nice to see you again. Just a couple of quick questions on the opening to the square that you have on the phase two drawing. I think it's so critical that we activate that square, that even if it took some temporary covering to do that, it might be important to just consider doing that in the first phase, because if it takes a little longer even than maybe is anticipated to get additional funding, you would have that activated side. So that's my one comment. And then the second question I have is, and I see, and I know when Joe Petroselli looked at the building, the removal of the back part of the building that was really the most impacted by flooding was suggested, which I'm looking at, the phase 2 rendering, it looks like you're doing something like that. And so, because I can see that it's the first phase a little shorter than the phase 1's, the entire length of that east side of the building, and then phase 2, which I see like that little bump in there, which I think is great, would be amazing to have that kind of, access to the science center on the square, which is sort of what we always all envisioned and hoped for. How do you figure, would you be demoing that back half of the building and then making it flood compliant? Because the other buildings along that whole side are sort of like serve as a flood wall. And I know you have thought about capturing that flood water, but is your phase 2 really addressing that issue?
Yeah, not through subtraction. So when I spoke with Joe, I gave him the example of we did a project at 100 Barclay, which is almost the same relative to sea level as this project. And it was a landmark building, so we didn't have the option of doing demolition, but we employed like a flood barrier strategy that is highly effective. And so I don't think it's a kind of a black or white choice here. I think there's a lot of construction technology and building technology that we can apply to maintain that portion of the building and make it flood proof. So I don't think you have to demolish it. But it is a conversation in the overall kind of vision and water mitigation strategy. And I don't know if that's a conversation with the Army Corps, who's kind of involved in the riverfront portion, or with you guys or building department. But I think there's a number of strategies that we can maintain the extant footprint and apply some of those kind of battle-tested strategies that we've used before.
I just want to say one thing. I'm concerned that what Councilwoman WASKI was saying, and also what you've been saying, Ms. Thomas, can we get, just looking at the photo in number 3, that box could stay like that for years until they get the funding. If they could have what's in photo 4, minus the top, with the rendering,
Got it.
with all the doors as such as everyone is discussing, I think that would look phenomenal, and it would create less of a problem when you are constructing, because the town square could be finished for a couple of years before you start doing all this other demo for your second floor. And I disagree, going back to what Councilman Rockwell was just saying. That planetarium, you're going to have to shut down that whole building to put that in. I don't see how you can segment that. It looks from this rendering you have, it's taking up most of this whole second floor. So I really don't know how you could stay in operation while you're putting that huge planet, or I don't know, is that the sun with the other planets around it? I don't know what that is, but I just don't see how you're going to be able to keep the place open while you're doing that.
Yeah, it's a great question. We would not be able to keep the full 200 feet of depth open. The plan would be that if we have access from the rear and the side, that we could actually just partition that, what will be a 50-foot by 50-foot segment, and do the installation. Primarily, the dome can get installed from the rooftop, and then kind of the enclosure, seating, all of that can get installed inside of that area. So you'd be partitioning. So we want to maintain some flexibility to the functioning and have a phased plan for the operation of the Science Center for that installation. But you're absolutely right. All of the area that would be under that dome would be closed off to facilitate that phase 2. But the rest of the museum could remain in operation for sure.
So you do have the funding for 1 and 1B, and
I'd like to
to,
see that.
right, so, and to address what the councilwoman is saying, what I heard was
That's
that
terrible.
that whole east side will be finished when the town square is finished. It's not going to be left without these windows and all that stuff, so.
No, they have that in
That-
phase two. It's listed as phase two.
No, phase two,
No.
there's 1 and 1B, if, right, a 1A and 1B, you had said?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and phase two is just the roof.
I apologize.
Phase one says new facade. The
Right.
facade is the face of the building. It says nothing about the east
side.
I
wall.
don't
I
have
am
that.
concerned
Right.
that it's just going to be the front of the building that's going to be worked on, and the whole east side is going to remain this red brick for we don't know how long.
I agree. It says in the description here on page 3, phase 2, relocate the entrance to the town square. New windows along town square. That's all happening in phase 2, not phase 1.
I think
Well-
the idea was to collaborate with the design of the town square, because there might be a grade raise or.
There's
I-
gonna be a grade
But
change.
we have Jordan,
Yeah.
that, we could,
But
we
even
could
if
work
you-
this issue out, and we do have the funding
Okay.
to,
That's the,
you know.
that's
I just
enhance
don't
them.
want a Band-Aid on the
Sure.
front
Yeah.
and us get stuck down the road. This is such a significant part of the town square, and I'm worried.
I think that's originally the concept Lucy had, was that it would be really a nice attraction in the town square. So I think Jordan is the design professional and already started working, discussing with the team to coordinate how they could phase that side. There was just some questions about grade that I think was why
Yeah.
we designed it these two ways, but I
The
think.
grade's gonna raise, so they gotta wait for that to happen. That's why it'll all happen with concert with the rest of the town square going on. If they just built this and then raised the grade, they'd be filling in some of the windows.
No, but I'm gonna stay on that,
Yeah.
but I would disagree with that in terms of that the design plan is being put in place for the town square, so even if you put in that facade, you complete that side, it would beautify the whole area. Even if our town square isn't ready, you could still do temporary, steps and so forth out there, or slope sidewalk and so forth. You have handicap accessible available in the front during the construction. It kind of gives us the guarantee of this is how it is, so even if no additional funds are ever received or are able to move forward, it gives you the guarantee of the facade putting in there in place. And even in the town square, I'm certain that if your project is ahead of us, then in building the town square, we can simply work with those steps and facades to make it, some of the pathways and walkways to be more approachable, so that it joins together. It's not like we're gonna build a town square and then suddenly be 3 feet higher or lower. I mean, if your facade is done, we're gonna have to work with your facade to match up. It's a key component. So I just wouldn't wanna see you to say, no, let's do the whole town square and then after we've already completed and we paid all that money for that granite work on there, we're gonna tear that all out of there and then start building, doors and windows later on. I think you should do it right from the beginning, because if you're gonna be open in August, then, there may be parts of the town square that if we're under mostly construction, I think in the rear in the very beginning, then you could utilize that front lawn right on the side of your building. Put some picnic tables, make it again,
Yeah,
so
well,
once the construction starts, then it's different, but then you have the front access.
yeah.
What is the material that you anticipate using on the exterior?
What's the material? It's a panelized system, and Sandra, you want to speak to the actual product that we were looking at? It's ceramic based?
I mean, there's a bunch of ways to do this because it's actually fairly simple. You can do a metallic finish on a ceramic. You could have a zinc panel. You could have like an aluminum. It's all about budget, but it's a very, very simple, almost like a open rain screen panel.
Right. I just wanted to speak quickly to, in order to open in August, one of the challenges is that it's going to be impossible to get the doors and windows, and that was the reason we were representing what would be kind of August 1. But again, the goal would be that and we're gonna have to work with LVF, the group, I think that has the master, kind of elevation, master plan, landscape, drawings. We have to work with them to position the apertures. This is kind of like what the starting point, right? And then it's a collaboration, negotiation as to where those openings happen. To the extent that we can get that done, filed, and be part, and line it up in advance, we would still need to take about 18 inches or so from the top of the plaza level and not build it. We could build up to that datum, have the windows in place, but then what we're gonna have to do is kind of flash and get the waterproofing details in sync with their details. So that, from our past experience, is a few month process. And so what we were proposing is to just kind of do something very simple for the August 1 opening, and then as soon as we can, so that that all of this is there prior to the town square opening. So doing it in concert with, I understand that the handout that you have is articulated a little differently, but the goal would never to be like that when the town square opens, we still have a big dumb wall there. It would be that just knowing that we have to sync all these up and develop the details and positioning of all the apertures in this wall with the LVF team. There's quite a bit that'll go into that, and that's not really, I think, possible by August. Maybe by the end of the year, but again, sync that with the construction team and how the town square, what that schedule is, so that anything that we do is not impeding their progress.
All right. Any other questions?
I'm good.
Good. Paul?
Thank you, Jordan, and I know Lucy's not on there, but I want to thank Lucy Barnes for
Good to see you again.
the work and working with you, Jordan.
She's been
Actually, Lucy was supposed to
really
be.
great, yeah. And
Thank you.
Yeah,
Well, we're really excited. Thanks for the opportunity to present. Sorry I couldn't be in person. I'm getting down there tomorrow. Couldn't make today happen, but hope to see you guys in person for the next conversation. So thank you.
Maybe the
Excellent.
supervisor
Thank
will have
you.
another work session tomorrow. We can have Jordan on.
Sounds good.
All right, keep us posted. Thanks so much.
Thank you, folks. Thank you very much.
This is Keller and Thompson.
Okay, very interesting topics to first story. We are next up for matters surrounding the down payment assistance program and municipal parks and recreation grant. That will be with Keller and Thompson. You're up, people, you're up. Finally.
And we need money for parks.
Came down a little early.
How are we doing today?
Good.
Good.
I heard you were missing this. That was just the attachment.
Okay.
So, we have the opportunity to partner with the county on this first-time home buyers. Microphone, yeah, you know I'm a little quieter. So we have the opportunity to partner with the county on this first-time home buyers down payment assistance program. It's really just offering people a chance to purchase homes and become established residents. I know there's trying to find a balance between rentals and homeowners, so this offers them a good opportunity. The county will vet all of the paperwork, and then we have a separate application that they can then be kicked over to and apply for additional funding. So the county is offering, with stipulations, if people meet the requirements, $30,000. That can be applied to the down payment of a new home. And then we could offer additional funding that could be applied to actually either the down payment or the closing costs. So that's advantageous for the first-time home buyers.
So we have $280,500 available for that, so for roughly 9 people or 9 families, we could,
If we can get that,
Yeah.
right,
yes.
if we can get that many to qualify.
Right.
I have one question. How do we prevent or police the fact that somebody may buy a home and then turn around and start renting it. What happens in that situation?
So with the first-time home buyer, yeah, so it's like anything else. They're gonna sign a lot of documentation that indicates that if they do anything like that, the money gets recaptured.
Oh,
So-
okay.
They're
So-
required
That
to
says
use
they
it as
have
their
to-
primary residence for 10 years.
10 years, yeah.
Right, but I look at, okay, so I look at somebody, they buy a home, they get $30,000 down payment. They start renting it, and for the amount of rent that people are getting, they'll capture that 30,000 and give it back real quick and then continue to rent.
Yeah,
That's-
but they gotta remain as the primary owner
Okay.
and resident in the
Okay.
home. Yeah.
I'm just,
They can't rent, they have to be living in the home.
I know my own personal experience, my wife and I, we've got the Sunny Mae first-time home buyers
Yes,
grant,
so
so
have I.
that was 30 years ago when we were first starting out, but they did actually, they did follow-up checkups, and then like, there was actually a payment scale too, so, you know, if we were to, you know, forcibly have to move for job change or something of that nature, or wanted to sell the house, then there was a certain degree that the money is returned as each year goes on, so there's a sliding scale, so
Yes,
that the money
yes.
gets
And
returned.
that's still kind of the principle also too, or if you do sell beforehand, it becomes due upon the sale of the house.
Yes, yep.
At the full amount. if
Did
that's
you
what
guys talk
It's
about the
protected.
vetting that the county does and that we would be piggybacking?
Yeah, we're just
off of that?
piggybacking on the program, so it's kind of nice. It's a little bit less work and paperwork for us, but it's still opportunities for our people coming in to purchase here.
And the county does background checks,
Yeah.
credit checks, education.
Exactly,
They do
and
have-
that's a
yeah.
really cool piece, is that they're required to go through mortgage counseling,
Correct.
which it's
And they
really,
also require you to have a personal bank account of a minimum of $3,000 within the bank account when they go to closing.
Can we find a way, as I've asked in the past, same question, to allocate the money towards first responders or veterans and so forth? So you're talking about 9 individuals, how do you narrow down the group, you know, in terms of like, we need the ongoing volunteers in our community, and sadly, the younger generation moves out, you know, because it's becoming so unaffordable here. So this is a great way to make people stay in town, but is there any way to allocate these?
I think it's open to all. I mean, it can't be exclusive.
Can it be
Especially since we're
exclusive to
piggybacking
Riverhead
off the-
residents at all, like current Riverhead residents, or again, do we
This is
do
county,
these
the
programs?
county's administering this though.
I just get, we
Yeah.
do these programs, and how do we know that we're gonna help the people living right here in Riverhead, right now, growing in Riverhead, as opposed to having somebody from Huntington or Amityville that's just going
Right,
to move
yeah.
in, and we're really not benefiting.
Well, that's
locally.
why we're trying to take it on here, immediately, instead of the county doing it as a widespread opportunity. So Riverhead is going, we're gonna do this by advertisement or whatever we have to do to present it to people out in just generally the Riverhead area. All right,
this is
so-
offered throughout the county as well, so other towns are participating in this program.
Yes, yes,
So
so it's
people
open
from
to-
other towns are
we have
having
other
that
towns.
opportunity as well.
Yeah.
They do have to live here for 10 years once they
Yes,
buy
no
this
matter what,
program,
yeah.
so we're getting new residents, and new taxpayers.
How did they determine how much they give each town?
How much they give each town?
So
Is there a
the
percentage
county,
basis,
the
or-
county does their own program, and that's all
Yeah.
using HUD money. And I just want to address the, selection of different groups to Fair Housing Act is very strict on that, and so you can't say Riverhead residents only, for instance. So those kinds of things, you can't limit when you're using that money. There are things that we can do to try to make sure that Riverhead residents are aware. They'd have to apply to the county first, qualify there, and then we would just be piggybacking off of that. And then the next question was
Is it HUD guidelines?
How it's formulated, that's how much we got, as opposed to how much.
oh,
we
so
got.
we're using, go ahead, you can,
We're using workforce housing.
our
Act.
Long Island workforce housing on the subdivisions, so we're.
So we have money from there, and then we actually can determine what we're getting. We don't have to match the 30,000 if we have these existing funds and say they're only receiving an average of like 5 applicants from Riverhead, then the money can be distributed however we see fit.
You could do 15 or 20 or whatever you think is appropriate, but it still helps, it's a nice chunk
Sure.
towards, and I think there's a max price right now, $550.
$551
Is the
for
home-
One, but we just learned that the HUD guidelines are coming out for the
And, yeah, so that's when we're looking to potentially roll this out, is once we have all of the information from HUD, so we can set our application straight with what the cap is for the housing purchase price, and then the annual, what is it, your gross annual income? So the
Yeah.
income guidelines.
That's the median income.
We'd be happy to send you over the application form with all of the very specific requirements, so you can review that.
Are you saying that the purchase price is $550?
The max
below?
purchase price
Yes,
right
cap.
now, and you have to meet the area median income guidelines of what's the max,
80%.
80% of
80%,
area median
yes.
income, so you can't make more than X. So that's a little bit of a dilemma.
Yeah, originally we were thinking about that, and it might be a little bit of a concern, but we did have a meeting yesterday where we're finding that the housing price is gonna go up to
Possibly a little bit more.
Maybe a little
around
bit more, like
600,000.
600.
So
Yeah,
there
'cause
are
there's
properties.
nothing on the market for 500.
I'm gonna say, there's not a shed out there for
Yeah.
500.
Well, there's some stuff.
Yeah, it's a
in, you know,
fixer-upper.
There's not a lot on the market right now,
And they
but
do have other grants out there, or other programs that are available that will offer to homeowners to have for improvements. Again, it will be a lien added onto the home.
Right.
And it'll be for a period of 10 years usually, same thing, that would be attached to the home.
Screams why we need to do some clustered housing that's, 1,000 square feet. We can drop that, because I know we talked about dropping the 1,200 square foot minimum, so that people could have starter homes.
so the land cost is so high.
Yeah, that's,
That, because we live on an island, so. But, this is at least a shot to help, and a boost to Riverhead residents or people who want to be Riverhead residents to come live here for at least 10 years and become part of the community.
Could these be used for seniors in the mobile home community? What is the
I don't
particular
think there's,
guidelines?
well, you know what, this is probably based on that it's a home that has also property that's attached, because you
Yeah.
have to attach, so in other words, the mobile home, so
It has to
it's
be
land.
in-house. You
yeah.
have to own the land as
The
well.
mobile home's considered a chattel, it's not real property, but if it was a senior person and it was their first time
Sure,
Yeah.
buying a home, for sure, it could work for them.
yeah. And again, they cannot own a home for 3 years prior.
And
No,
veterans
that's
are
a
exempt from that,
Okay.
from that time restriction.
Now let's get those first responders exempt.
Yeah, the county has a great program, it's going for a long time, so we just figured we're not gonna reinvent the wheel, we're just piggyback
Yeah.
right off of that, and if you get it from the county, you'll get it from us, and
Okay.
we'll go from there.
It's an additional source. And then the second program we were talking about is the +1 ADU, so the accessory dwelling units. That's through the state, Homes and Community Renewal. And we're partnering with Long Island Housing Partnership on that as well. So they handle the majority of the paperwork. People come in and they are awarded up to $125,000. We've talked to other towns who do this, and they do find a smidge of a problem because $125,000 isn't a lot of money, but it does provide, I think, a benefit with maybe rather than a new accessory dwelling build, it can help to bring existing dwellings up to code. So I feel like that's kind of where it's more applicable here, because they have to have the capital to finish out whatever they do. It's just that initial 125. So
Yeah, it's a matter of getting code issues in order, and as well as also septic systems,
yep.
because they gotta upgrade the septic systems as
So
well.
if they say have an existing accessory dwelling unit on their property and it needs renovations, this is a program that they could apply to make sure everything is up to code and to improve the dwelling itself.
you could use it to finish a basement, make a basement.
Yeah, as long as it's, got the head.
The egress.
head space.
Right.
Egress is everything,
Right,
sure.
right.
Yeah. So we would piggyback off this program as well, and then we have very specific town codes. So we would just be providing the Long Island Housing Partnership with what our town codes look like, and they would help mock up the application, because they have their own application and they're vetting the participants through that. And then we just send them all of our requirements and they'll modify the application, and then people can apply. And it's really, this program is more about getting the word out to our residents that this exists. And then I think it's advantageous to have this money available so people can bring their existing units up to code. What do you think?
Perfect. Very good. That sums it up. Well,
Good.
Okay.
yes,
Well, every
thank you
little
for
bit-
letting us add
every little
those.
bit certainly helps.
can
I
do
know
new-
it's
new
a tough
programs.
market out there right
I
now.
know, and I was a little concerned initially about that pricing for the house, but you pop on Zillow and there are things around. They do
Yeah,
need,
I
they
mean,
do
like-
need work. You're gonna get a fixer-upper with us at this point in the market,
They go
but
like that, though.
exactly.
Those houses go
People are
as soon as they
looking for
hit them.
homes.
Got people flipping them, buying them, and flipping them.
This gives the first-time home buyer that a little bit better opportunity to
Right.
compete, because they can't compete with the flippers
Right.
and the investors.
Right.
So this is a little bit of an edge for them to maybe get a spot.
Get a foot in the door.
Yes,
Literally.
very good.
Yes, yes, more than a foot.
Right.
The whole body.
Yeah, right.
Well, thank you guys very much.
Yeah, thanks.
Very informative.
very much.
Thank you. Okay, our last item on for open session are matters surrounding park improvements to Two Bears Park. And we have Ray and Ashley. And Drew? Oh, you forced Drew to come?
Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning.
Everyone. Did everybody get one?
Yes,
You know what?
Not yet, no.
I got mine in the mail the other day.
The other
Yeah,
day.
because you were
I didn't see it yet.
They
Well,
sent mine FedEx.
we're off to a great start this morning, our
This
first
thing
day.
just gets better every year you do it.
thank you.
And it's always been good.
And we have our Civic Rec launched this morning.
Wow.
So brand new system. We really had no kinks. It's been working out great, and we're at the $15,000 mark. I think the record is 21, so we're hoping to break the record for the first day of registration. 26% were online, so that's a good sign for us as well.
That's great.
And it's only 11:15.
Yeah. So I think we're going to break the record, which is great. So that'd be great.
Good numbers.
Okay, so we are here to discuss Two Bears.
That problem?
Two Bears is probably the park that needs Two Bears, yeah, that needs the most love and tenderness, because it's just been we haven't touched it in years. put
It's
it
been
that
on
way.
your list for years, and
Yeah.
we've been kicking it down the road for years.
Yeah.
Just for lack of money, of course, but I agree with you, and I'm glad you really pushed hard on it this year, because I was up there a couple weeks ago and checked it out, and it needs work.
Is that the one behind Timothy Hill?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually, after you mentioned it, I also went and looked at that park. It looks abandoned. It's in such bad shape.
Yeah, they've been asking us for a while. They're great people down there. They don't push the
Yeah, they're
envelope,
playing
but it's been the
basketball.
funding, because that needs an overhaul.
Basketball.
I saw it.
So we had a contractor go down there and check it out, and we got a very high cost as far as their quote. So Drew was sent the quote, and he has saved us close to, what, 80 grand, something like that? give or
Ooh.
take.
I used the
Excellent.
annual construction contract. We got a quote from Land Tech, and they went off the Southampton contract?
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
that what it was? Southampton contract. And their total was $385,000, and we came up with just short of 240.
Awesome.
The thing that saved us the most money, which is really good in retrospect, was the glazing or the surfacing of the tennis courts. Because they charge basically per ingredient for a multi-layered system, and just for the surfacing, it's gotta be well over $100,000.
Yeah, we're gonna rip everything up that's there now, because it has to be ripped up. And we're changing the configuration to where we're adding a full court basketball court there, and then we're doing the tennis pickleball court combination on the other side. So we feel that's based on the request down there, that's in the best interest of what they're looking for down there.
Okay.
So
Because
we're,
right now, they have basketball off to the side, but it's only a
It's
small
in the parking
little-
lot,
It's a little
yeah.
area, yeah.
yeah, so we figured a nice full court, new coated, and then the tennis pickleball courts. In fact, I just got an email from one of the residents, a long email, I'm not sure if you were on it, Supervisor, saying how bad it is, and then when I wrote him back saying we're attacking this first, he was ecstatic. He said, this is great. So, so what I'm here to ask, what we're here to ask is just the town board, I'm going to put in a resolution to transfer the money, it's park and rec fees, to the project, and then we can start on the project. If
How much
everybody's
is
okay.
coming out of park and rec fees exactly?
This is 236.
I thought park and rec fees only had 150,000.
No, we have close to 3. We have 271 available, and then we had another project that we could liquidate at like 15 grand. So, because I was anticipating it to be over 3, but it, like I said, we saved a lot of money.
Did they make any comments or endorsements of the use of the fees from the Park and Rec Committee?
This was addressed 2 years ago by Park and by the advisory committee, and they were pushing us to get this done. So now we're getting it done.
I'm just asking, are they aware that now that all their funds will be depleted? I guess
not in the last meeting because we did another topic. So, but they know they get our reports, they get the spreadsheet. We told them 2 bears at the top of the list, and so they were fine. They'll be fine with it.
I know that the Councilman Rothwell has been concerned about the park up in Wading River, and I would have thought that maybe they would have been pretty high up on the list.
Which park are you talking about? Bayberry?
Bayberry.
Well, that's the parking lot, and that parking lot, since I've been here, has needed work. It's going to be well over $200,000 because the parking lot is falling into the park slowly, and so you need to put all new drainage in there and then redo the surface of the parking lot. You know about Bayberry, right? So,
Right, but there's also a crack in the tennis court.
yeah, well, that we're getting fixed. That we're going to have fixed, yeah.
Those were
But
just
those are new
replaced.
tennis courts, yeah, so.
They should be under warranty or some sort, I would think, right?
I think that it might have expired because it's been like 4 or 5 years, but.
It hasn't been 4 or 5 years. It's
Has it
been,
been?
I mean, 2.
Well, either way, we're having the company that did it go up there to redo it, so, we'll get that fixed right
That
away.
should be some type of warranty, and you should look into that.
Yeah, no, we'll look at the contract. I go through them with everything. While I'm here, since we saved some money, Millbrook Gables Park, which is off Lewis Avenue, it's another park that needs a lot of fixing up. And so new tables, and we actually had ordered the new tables, so we're going to put that out for them. They had recently had a new playground, but we're looking to, the basketball court is another issue over there. We were able to get a court to resurface the basketball court, so it would look great, brand new surfacing. We're going to put 2 new basketball hoops in there, and it's for $11,000. I just got the estimate today, so while I'm here, can I add that to the list if we have the money?
Land Tech's not doing that, right?
No, we have a separate company that does it, Hampton Sports Courts. They did Horton Avenue.
I was going to ask you, because whoever did, Horton did a great job,
Yeah,
and
so-
I know Land Tech was a lot more money.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, and they said, they just got us the quote this morning, so.
Okay, great.
I'll put that in as well. I'll talk to the rec advisory. before we do that.
With the basketball.
And then Stotsky, we already had in the project queue, is gonna be done as well, basketball court. So that's where we're at.
Perfect.
And actually, we're playing pickleball at 3 o'clock today?
Yeah, we're
Okay.
gonna resurface the parking lot.
And free skate,
Yeah, we have free skates. What's the next date?
the 15th.
Yeah.
I know we had 2 or 3
yeah.
in the queue, and
The 15th.
we're just gonna keep pushing,
We have a
keep doing
bunch
that.
coming up for the seniors, and then Jordan puts them together for like the ones you're doing right now. But those should all be in the brochure.
Great,
Yeah, we're getting there. Curling's coming next. Watch out.
There you go.
yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, folks. Actually, you coaching?
Curling is is really popular now. I mean,
wanna do it.
Not lacrosse, no.
Okay,
But Megan's still there.
very good. All right, that takes care of all the open session meetings. We're going to move on to resolutions. And Ms. Devon, if you would come up and please go over the resolutions.
Good morning to the board.
Good morning.
Good morning.
If everybody's ready, we'll jump right into it. So our first resolution, it's a budget amendment for capital project number 72306, Veterans Park Memorial Sanitation System. And engineer Ken Testa is just a few minutes delayed, so we're going to just kind of hit the pause button on the... Oh, here he is. Wonderful. Come on up, Ken.
I'm cute.
Perfect timing. So Ken's here. He's just going to kind of speak to the technical of this resolution.
Good afternoon, or good morning. Ken Testa, Town Engineer, Town of Riverhead. As we discussed in the executive work session, we had a couple of technical issues that we encountered on the sanitary system construction at Veterans Memorial Park. We were working with a design that's almost 20 years old because the permit application was originally made in 2007. It was a very lengthy permit process. It involved a board of review hearing with the health department. Because of the proximity of the site to the Calverton Sewer District. They wanted us to try to connect to the sewer district, but at that time, it was not feasible to do that because of the distance to the sewer district and the proposed development of the site. Those conditions are still in place, so the health department allowed us to reactivate the old permit. To start over again would have been a very, very lengthy process. So we were working with that older design and some development that happened at the site that caused us to have to change some things around and shift some things a few different ways. So we ended up with some cost overruns. There were two change orders. One involved shifting the sanitary system to an area where the grade was about 5 feet higher than originally proposed. So there was some extra, about 780 cubic yards of extra excavation had to come out. And the second was a conflict with the manhole at the ball fields that was put in back in 2007 that we had to tie into. It was found to be a lot lower than it was originally anticipated. We had to take it out, rip up 300 feet of pipe and put it back in. So there was some cost overruns in this budget transfers to help cover those costs.
Opening day for the restroom is?
Very close.
Gonna ask that.
I can't promise because I'm at the mercy of PSE&G on getting things connected. They've been very cooperative, but there's a step-by-step process, so I'm hoping next week. I'll give you as much as a heads up as I possibly can.
I know you've been tirelessly working on this, Ken. We greatly appreciate it.
Okay, resolution number 2 accepts donation for the Recreation Department. Resolution 3 ratifies the setting of fees for the Recreation Spring-Summer brochure. Number 4 appoints new seasonal employees to the Recreation Department. Number 5 reappoints seasonal pump-out boat operators. Number 6 appoints a senior water treatment plant operator 2B. Number 7 appoints a senior wastewater treatment plant operator 3A. Number 8 appoints a senior water treatment plant operator 1B.
These are all move-ups from Michael Reichel retirement.
And from the one was
one
water.
yes.
Yep. Resolution number 9 provisionally appoints a principal account clerk. Resolution number 10 accepts the resignation of a fire marshal 1.
Lost to a town that pays better than Riverhead does.
Number 11 ratifies the resignation of a homemaker. Number 12 ratifies the resignation of a code enforcement officer.
Lost to the town and to another town that pays better.
Number 13 ratifies and accepts the resignation of a traffic control specialist. Number 14 ratifies and accepts the resignation of a traffic control specialist. Number 15 changes the status of part-time police officers. They'll go from part-time to seasonal for the high season here. Number 16 changes the status of part-time traffic control specialists and/or part-time traffic control officers. Same thing to help with the high season. Number 17 appoints the captain to the Riverhead Police Department. She's been provisional. This will make it permanent.
She's doing a great job.
Congratulations, Captain Wilsey.
Number 18 ratifies the approval for a leave of absence. Number 19 authorizes submission of application to apply for reimbursement of new motor for the pump-out boat to the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation, EFC. Number 20, ratifies the settlement of legal action in the matter of Town of Riverhead against Robert James Hartman, 1524 Osborne Avenue, Riverhead, New York. Number 21, authorizes the Senior Citizen Program Director to execute a memorandum of understanding with New York State Commodity Supplemental Food Program for 2025. Number 22, authorizes the supervisor to execute an agreement authorizing the town to accept funds from Suffolk County Office for the Aging for the purpose of supplementing the town's nutrition program for the elderly 2025.
You can always tell a contract with the county because.
They're that thick, yep. Number 23, authorizes the town attorney to execute an agreement with Jeffrey L. Seaman, CEP, and acknowledges an agreement by Peter Scalzo. Number 24, authorizes the supervisor to execute an agreement with Seatuck Environmental Association, Inc. and the Rotary Club of Riverhead. Number 25, authorizes supervisor to execute a stipulation with Local 1000, AFS CME, AFL-CIO, Riverhead Unit of the Suffolk Local 852. Number 26, authorizes the supervisor to execute a license agreement with Celtic Quest, Inc., 2025. Number 27, authorizes the supervisor to execute a professional services agreement with H2M Architects and Engineers for the Meeting House Creek Stormwater Wetland and Habitat Restoration Project.
Also known as the project from forever.
It's crawling forward, so that's good. Number 28.
Just one question?
Yes.
So if you just don't mind, just to go back for a second for the Celtic Quest agreement, is that, in just curiosity, is that in any way taking away space from any of the local town docks, or is that just, how does it affect
Just
the
the pump
residents
out
and
boats.
uses?
It's, they
Pump out
park on the north side of East Creek, on the west side of the docking. It's where the pump-out boat goes and where the Celtic Quest goes. So there is other parking available if somebody wants to tie up to the dock.
So it doesn't interfere, is what
No.
I'm saying, I'm just making sure we're
No.
not losing it. All right, just curious. Thank you, sorry, go ahead.
It's actually a fun time. I went on it a couple of years back, and it was a lot of fun.
Is you parking it or docking it?
Yes, both. We caught a lot of fish. It was a lot of fun.
Resolution 28, authorize the supervisor to execute a professional services agreement with Land Use Ecological Services, Inc. for the Meeting House Creek Stormwater Wetland and Habitat Restoration Project. Number 29, ratifies agreement with Riverhead Town Superior Officers Association, Inc., insurance buyout.
That was due to bringing them up to the same as the PBA that wasn't done and should have been done in the last contract. So we put that together to make it an equal offering for both the PBA and the SOA.
Resolution number 30, ratifies agreement with Riverhead Town Superior Officers Association, Inc., March 2025.
It's actually the signing of the contract.
Finally, yep. Resolution number 31, ratifies authorization for the town attorney to execute a retainer agreement with Siegel and Sittler, PLLC.
This is for,
We can have the town attorney come forward, but this is to handle the Article 78.
Morning.
Good
Again. Yeah, this is a retainer agreement for representation of the town and the ZBA in connection with an Article 78 commenced by Tink and E after the ZBA denied their use variance application for a cannabis, retail cannabis dispensary in the old bank.
Ostrander Avenue.
Yeah, bank building on Ostrander Avenue.
very good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Number 32, resolution of the Town of Riverhead opposing state legislation Assembly Bill A2586, Senate Bill S00188, introduced in the 2025-2026 legislative session, titled Limits the Authority of Cities, Villages, and Towns to Impose Certain Zoning Requirements.
Can we get an explanation on this one?
I sure can.
Yeah, this is essentially a statement in opposition to a certain bill that's being proposed in the state Senate and state assemblies, which would limit the town's ability to make its own zoning. It would restrict the town from having lot sizes greater than 20,000 feet, and any lots that are accessible for sewer and water would be limited to a 5,000-foot lot. So in our assessment, that is inconsistent with the rural nature of our community, and this essentially states that opposition and provides that the resolution will be sent out to the appropriate state officials and committees, including Assemblywoman Giglio and State Senator Palumbo.
Good. Thank you, Ed.
I think that would be severely detrimental to the farmers' valuation of their lands, most importantly, so.
Actually, it would quadruple it.
Well, from 2 acres.
It would do the opposite, because it's 2 acre zoning.
to 2 acre
It would
zoning.
actually.
It would increase the
it-
density.
It would
Yep.
increase, it would make their land a lot more valuable, because, yeah.
Divided it less.
Huh?
Yeah, I understand now. Yeah, got it.
Okay, resolution number 33, acceptance of 2024 Justice Court audit. Number 34, approve special event Chapter 255 application for Our Future Generation, for us, by us, for all of us vendor fair.
Can you repeat that one?
Nope.
I like it.
Number 35, approve special event Chapter 255 application for African American Educational and Cultural Festival, AAECF Inc. Concert Series. Number 36, approve special event Chapter 255 application for Polish Town Civic Association, Polish Town Street Fair. Number 37, approve special event Chapter 255 application for Race Awesome, 11th Annual Jamesport Triathlon.
Summer must just be around the corner.
Yeah, really. Seems like that was yesterday.
Number 38, approve special event Chapter 255 application for Island Water Park Sports and Music Festival. Number 39, authorizes the town clerk to publish and post notice to bidders for printing and mailing of recreational brochures. Number 40, awards rebid number 2 for Meeting House Creek Stormwater Wetland and Habitat Restoration Project. Number 41, extends bid nunc-pro-tunc for charter buses. Number 42, ratifies application for congressional funding for Riverhead Water District proposed extensions 95 and 96. And number 43, ratifies the application for community project funding, AKA congressionally directed spending by the Community Development Department for Riverhead Amphitheater. We have Dawn Thomas here. If you guys have any questions, she's standing by. And the last one, of course, is pays the bills.
And no Roman numerals.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
So we get an explanation on pay bill?
Pays Do you guys have questions for Dawn?
No,
On the
I
two?
understand.
Okay.
This is,
Okay.
Good. Okay, that concludes our open session and resolutions. In a moment, we'll close the meeting and go into executive session to discuss under personnel matters surrounding committee appointment with WASKI. Under legal, we have matters surrounding license agreement to license taxiway with Howard, matters surrounding contractual agreement with Main Street Agency with Howard, and matters surrounding contractual agreement with CMA Mines, also with Howard. The last matter listed on the agenda is not going to be discussed today. That will be dealt with at a later date. And at this point in time, can I have a motion to close the open session and go into executive?
so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, open session is closed. One quick note, just to give out, yep. All right, Saturday, happy Passover. Passover begins to those who celebrate, and Sunday, April 13th is Palm Sunday, so Easter's a week away and Passover starts, so happy holidays to everybody. Thank you, everybody. Have a good week.